Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I put the Bowers Wilkins PI5 under the microscope. These premium true wireless buds have a great sound as you would expect from one of the most prestigious British audio companies, but the question is whether they can deliver a matching performance in all other areas. So that's what we are going to try and find out today. The first time I had a look at the photos when B&W announced the PI5 and the PI7 a couple of weeks ago, I was immediately hooked in. But when the buds arrived, I was a bit disappointed. Not in the buds themselves, because they look just as sleek and elegant as they did on the press photos, but it was the case which didn't really meet my expectations. It's made of matte, squeaky plastic and it feels cheap. The lid is the worst as it is rather loose and it looks even cheaper than the rest of the case. Okay, the case is relatively small, lightweight and it's kind of pocketable too, so I have to give it to B&W if that was their goal. There is a pairing/reset button inside the case, a battery status LED on the front and a USB-C port at the bottom, plus we get wireless charging too, so we are good as far as features are concerned, but in terms of build quality I feel like that's not good enough, especially for $249 euros or pounds. But the buds are a different story. They are built to very high standards and there are higher quality materials used all around. And that makes them a bit heavier than average as they weigh in at 7.2 grams each. But the fit in my ears was perfect. It's tight and secure and long-term comfort was also first class. No hotspots, no pressure, no issues whatsoever. You only get 3 sets of ear tips altogether in the box, so let's hope you can find a great fit too without having to buy third-party ear tips. The buds are IP54 rated, or at least they are according to the tiny little text on the inside of the lid. That's the only place I could find any information about their IP rating. Nothing on the website, on the box, in the manual or in the quick start guide. It's like the manufacturer does not really want you to use these buds for exercise. Otherwise they would advertise it as a feature, I guess, or at least it would show up in the specs somewhere. But since getting a tight fit is possible, you might even want to give these buds a go and take them out for a run. Oh wait, I actually did that. And it was okay. I'm not saying that the PI5 will ever be my go-to choice for running, but based on my experience, exercising or going to the gym with these buds should not be an issue. But the battery life might be, as it's rather disappointing by today's standards. I tested the buds with an iPad at around 50% volume and I got 3.5 hours of playtime with ANC turned on and about 4.5 hours with ANC turned off. That is not great indeed, but thanks to the 15 minutes of quick charging, which gives you 2 hours of use, it's kind of manageable. The total playtime is around 20 hours, which is okay, but still you will have to put the buds back in the case more often than not, and you can forget about all their use for sure. The PI5 uses Bluetooth 5.0 with support for not only SBC and AAC, but with these buds you get the aptX codec as well. Based on the description on the official website, I thought we might get the aptX adaptive codec, which can dynamically adjust latency and compression, but that feature is reserved for the more expensive PI7, so we only get regular aptX, which is still plenty good. But regardless of the codec, connection is not the most solid I've seen. Pairing is quick and easy, but music and video playback paused a couple of times for no apparent reason. I don't know why, because the buds didn't drop the signal or disconnect from my phone or my iPad, but the playback stopped at random times on both devices and with different apps too. And sometimes playback would simply get jittery and stuttery on my phone, or some other times it wouldn't even work on my 2017 MacBook Pro. And once, the buds started to randomly switch between tracks without me touching the controls, and I couldn't make it stop until I put them back in the case. So connection is a bit of a hit and miss, which is a strange thing to say about a pair of brand new, highly priced earbuds in 2021. On a more positive note, lip sync is perfect when watching movies, and we also get single bud mode. However, games have a tiny bit of delay, and switching between the buds when you use them independently is not nearly as smooth as it could be, but at least it works. There are 2 mics on each bud to make phone calls as clear as possible. And there is nothing wrong with the voice transmission quality here, at least in a quiet room. My voice could be a bit more full-bodied maybe, but the clarity and the volume are okay. Let's turn on some noise to see how the noise-cancelling algorithm performs in a coffee shop, for example. My voice gets a bit lost in the background noise, but I'm not sure how much of that you can actually hear. But for your reference, this is what the noise sounds like through the Rode NTG5 microphone in front of me. And this is what the traffic noise sounds like before switching back to the mics on the PI5. This scenario always proves to be easier to manage in terms of noise cancellation, and as you can probably hear, that's exactly the case with the Bowers Wilkins PI5 too. Next up are the controls. We get touch controls on the PI5, and that in itself works just fine. The interfaces register touches very well and their reaction time is fast, but you cannot customize their functionality and you don't get volume controls at all. One tap on either bud is play pause, double tap skips to the next track, and triple tap jumps back to the previous one. And again, that's the same on both buds. Tap and hold on the left bud switches ANC on and off, but you cannot activate the pass-through mode here, you have to go into the app to do that. And last, the same tap and hold action on the right bud activates the voice assistant. And again, they couldn't find a way to put in volume controls, and there is no customization in the BMW headphones app. And the app lacks other features too, an EQ for example. Not that I miss it with these buds because they sound pretty good, but more about it in a second. Back to the app, I had issues with connecting it to the buds a couple of times, and the ANC settings were a little bit dodgy at times too. But for the most part, the app was doing a decent job. However, there is not much it can actually do in terms of features. First, there is the on-off switch for the ANC and two different settings for the pass-through mode. On the next page, you can check your connections and connection history, which can make switching between devices a bit easier than usual, so that can be helpful. Multi-point use support would be better of course, but we don't have it on the PI5. But there is the next page in the app where you can play different sounds, such as a waterfall, rain or campfire. This is an ASMR type of feature which can help you relax. You get a timer as well, so the buds will automatically stop playback, but they won't turn off in case you fall asleep. And that's all nice, but maybe instead of focusing their efforts on providing you with these soundscapes, which is basically content that's available on any streaming service, the engineers at Bowers Wilkins could have put more work into the controls and settings inside the app. For starters, the ANC offers only a basic on-off switch. I know it's supposedly advanced and intelligent, but still, some controls and options would have been nice. There is no EQ of any kind, and the controls are not customizable either. And I sorely miss the volume controls too. But before I forget, we get an on-off switch for the in-ear sensors, and you can get software updates too, which I hope will solve some of the issues in the future. So that's not the end of the world, and there is some hope, but the functionality of the app is far from acceptable for the money as of now. And at this stage, maybe I should turn on some forest ambient sound and chill down a little and forget about how disappointing the controls are, but let's have a look at the noise cancellation instead. Well, it's not class leading either, but it does the job nicely. As I said, you don't get any custom options in the app, and we don't get the more advanced adaptive ANC tech from the PI7 either, so the ANC on the PI5 delivers only an average performance in all scenarios. Traffic noise is handled well, so is airplane cabin noise. Not that I flew anywhere recently, but I tested the buds using white noise from an airplane cabin at 85 decibels. When I turned on the active noise cancellation, the noise levels went down to around 68-69 decibels, which means 16 to 17 decibels of attenuation. That's pretty much an average performance amongst all buds I have tested so far, including cheaper and more expensive ones too. Ambient chatter is always a more challenging task, and the PI5 didn't really cope well with it. But in real-life testing, such as walking around on the streets of Galway, I was happy with the isolation I got as a result, especially with music on. Wind noise reduction, on the other hand, is not the strong suit of the buds, as there are no such settings in the app. And that's just one example why settings and options would be important, but we don't have that luxury with the PI5. Onto the pass-through mode, there at least we get two options. If you want more ambient noise to get through, use the more option. If you want less noise but not full noise cancellation, then you should choose the less option. There is only a slight difference between the two, and making a conversation with music on is still pretty much impossible, but that's when the autoplay pause can come in handy. So the ANC is only average, but in most situations it can do a decent job. Okay, now we got through all the issues I had with the buds, but I left the best part of the review for the end. Yeah, it's time to talk about the sound of the Bowers Wilkins PI5. We got a single 9.2mm driver in each bud, and those drivers can deliver such a rumbling bass that not many other true wireless earbuds can do. The low frequencies are powerful, but relatively well controlled, and we get a substantial mid-bass boost, so any hip-hop, electronic or dance music will sound great with these buds. Acoustic music, however, is not handled with too much finesse. The boost in the bass can mask some of the details areas in the lower mid-range frequencies, and the clarity of the sound suffers a bit as a result. Vocals are well balanced, even if a bit less forward than what I would prefer. The highs are nicely textured and smooth and may be rolled off a bit too much, but there is no sign of any harshness even at maximum volume levels. And the PI5 can get quite loud, so I would suggest that you refrain from listening to these buds at 100% volume, or any other buds for that matter. But back to the PI5, you get a warm sound with loads of bass. Soundstage is okay in terms of width, but there is not much depth in the sound. Imaging is only okay, and I've heard buds with much better separation in this class, such as the KEF MU3 for example. And I also prefer the more open sound of the KEFs, the more balanced frequency response of the Master and Dynamic MW08, and even the 2 years old Sony WF-1000X Mark III can deliver a better overall musical performance than the B&W PI5. That is, unless you need the most amount of bass earbuds can produce. It's a lovely, warm, full-bodied sound, and it's perfect for workouts, for commuting and long-term listening without any fatigue, but it's not the most suitable for more delicate genres or songs. And the little audiophile hiding somewhere inside me just shakes his head, saying that's not good enough. And that's what I would say too if I had to wrap up this review somehow. That's not good enough. I was so excited to see Bowers and Wilkins finally entering the true wireless earbuds market, as I always loved the company for what they achieved in audio technology. But the PI5 buds are a bit disappointing. Not really from an audio point of view, because their sound is great and I believe they will find their audience too. Me not liking it that much is just a matter of personal preference. The design, fit and comfort of the buds are great too, but everything else is rather underwhelming. The case feels cheap, the battery life is not up to today's standards, connection is a hit and miss, the controls are crippled, and the software features are lacking. The active noise cancellation delivers an okay performance, but this is something that much cheaper earbuds can do as well. So the price tag of €249 dollars or pounds is not really justified in my opinion, because there are so many great alternatives for around the same money with less compromises to make. I would rather buy a Sennheiser, a Bose, a KEF, a Master and Dynamic or a Sony any day of the week. I only hope the PI7 will deliver a much better performance and will improve on some of the shortcomings of the PI5. That review is in the making already, so we will find out soon. But that concludes my review of the Bowers and Wilkins PI5 for now. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I know you have some questions too, so why don't you drop a comment down below. Have a nice day everyone, and thanks for watching. See you next time.